Superficial Spirit. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm super excited about today's show. We are talking to the author of a book called Bridging Science and Spirit. Honey, I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book, and I absolutely love it. It is basically trying to quantify spirituality, human consciousness, the power of intent to influence physical reality. So anybody who is interested in the law of attraction, this is a really interesting topic and conversation and exploration, because for a lot of people, the law of attraction resonates with them. When you read about it and you hear about it, it feels like this has to be true, that you can create your own reality based on your thoughts and your feelings. When I first read about that through Abraham Hicks, and Hay House and all of those books, I knew without a doubt that it was real. Now that it's been some time since I first read the books, I feel like they leave out some important pieces. Like, yes, it's important to visualize the reality you want and be confident that you can do it and believe that it's possible, but you also have to fucking do the work. And I feel like that, for me anyway, was something that was missing. Like, I would spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours meditating, waiting for opportunities to come, waiting for money to arrive. And I was taking a really passive approach to creating a life that I loved, and it didn't work. And now my approach is different. I still meditate, but I meditate because it makes me feel better. It improves my mental health and clarity. And when it comes to manifesting specific things, I approach it more of goal setting. I believe that I can do something and I move towards it. And I take a more active approach. I still believe there is magic and wonder and things that I can't explain in the universe. And I haven't let go of that magical quality. Like, the whole tingly thing and the concept of you can create any reality you want made me so excited and makes me so excited. And that's why, even though there may be some problems with the self-help books and The Secret and things like that, because they miss it, maybe they leave out important pieces, or put too much pressure on a person to create the life they love, when maybe there are circumstances beyond their control that are contributing to your life situation. But I still think if something makes you feel good and inspired, you should hold on to that. Take what works and leave the rest. And today's guest is going to be a great person to talk to about that, because she spent a lot of time investigating, scientifically, is this real? Can you create and affect reality with your mind and with your intention? So without further ado, I can't wait to start this conversation. Please welcome Nisha. Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, Peter. Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm outside. Let me just put my volume up. I can hear you.
Great. Oh, it's so sunny there.
Huh?
It's so sunny there.
Well, it's actually really chilly, so I've got my jacket on, but I can remove. I want to be respectful of how you like for your guests to look, okay? So
I think you look great. I mean, I love that there's some greenery in the background, and where I live in Toronto, it's wet and rainy and gray, so I'm happy to see some sunshine.
Okay. Well, thank you, Peter, for having me on your show. You reached out to me out of the blue, and it was so fun because I could feel your it was like I'm getting goosebumps, by the way, like a real lovely enthusiasm. And I don't go on shows easily. I've refused many because there's all kinds of people reaching out, and I don't know always their well, I shouldn't say this. I don't know their motivations. I don't know their levels of consciousness. I'm very serious about that. And I think you read in pillar number 2 that there are levels, and we have to be aware of that. And discernment is very big in my books. So anyway, so enough of that.
I'm so happy that you got back to me and that we're able to discuss your book and just your experience, because I'm glad you feel my enthusiasm, because the best way for me to describe my spiritual journey has been, like, when I was really young, I just had this knowing that there was something bigger than me. I felt a calling. I believed that anything was possible. And I sort of let that be my navigating tool inside of me. And then later in my 20s, when I learned about manifesting and the law of attraction, then it was like I was reading about something that I had already been doing in my life, and finally there was words to put to it, and I never once needed any scientific proof. I didn't care. I just knew that it was real. And
Yes.
now with the podcast, I started it because I wanted to explore how pop culture affects our spirituality,
Yes.
celebrities and social media and, the superficial things that inspire us, like wanting to be famous or making a lot of money. I have found there's a lot of spiritual meat there that keeps me
Yes,
inspired.
actually, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. And sometimes we have iconic movies, and I haven't watched this, but The Matrix is one of them. How do you figure out the gifts that you are? That's psychoenergetics. Okay, psychoenergetic means siddhi. Siddhi means Sanskrit word for powers. We are latent beings who have Christ consciousness. And so we're able to fly, we're able to remote view, all of that. But I don't know where we are going with this conversation if you want in your podcast, but we can even have more than one if we feel that is right. Okay, we have to
Okay.
flow with it. Whatever the divine wants, that's what we do. It's
I
about
think that.
divine will. It's not about me or you. It's about serving the greater good. And I think that's the big message. And that's what I felt with you. Okay. I was very curious about superficial spiritual. I thought, whatever, but you calibrate strong. I just give you my insider feeling. And so I go with it. Yeah, this is between you and me. I'm giving you some of my processes as a scientist and learning that our acupuncture system is a connection to the divine, okay? So if I go weak and strong, it is my gauge to, oh, I'm on the right track, okay? Anything that makes me strong, my muscles strong, and you can keep that bit if you want, is that we have this indicator. And then I tested it and verified that this is not nonsense. This is not nonsense. This is our gift that nature is in us. It's a symmetry rule. And you'll come to that. You're in page number 200 of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You have much more to go. And when you reach the pillar number 7, wow, now you can bridge science and you can bridge spirit. And they're equivalent. They're on the same playing field. I often joke that Buddha is my partner in science.
I
He's my
love that.
partner in science because I could see what happened and I described those experiments. And by the way, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is aware of this work, okay? But we're not mature enough. Even I'm not mature enough. We have much growth really to happen in our consciousness. We have to grow in our awareness to give meaning to these things. Otherwise, well, we'll just crawl around in our kindergarten worlds.
Exactly. And what do you think about people like me who feel a natural knowing and don't necessarily need the validation from science? So when I go about my life, I'm living by these rules that resonate with me on a natural and
Yes.
spiritual level. And then I encounter books like yours that are attempting to bridge the gap and succeed in doing that. How important do you think it is for everybody to prove this and to quantify spirituality and consciousness?
Well, science has a role to play in modern life. But we have forgotten our spirituality, what we really are as human species. We're not animals. We're not plants. But we are intelligent beings. And so when you speak of something has great meaning for you and you don't need the science to prove it, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So I would advise you, go with the truth that you feel intensely. And how do you know that you're on the right track? I'll tell you this. And highlight this, okay?
Okay.
If it brings you great peace and freedom, you're on the right track. And that's what scripture offers us. Contemplative practices, reading the life of Master Jesus, or the life of Buddha, these are avatars. They're pointing the way forward for us to grab a pathway. All I'm saying is science actually joins there. Science was never separate, and science does not need to cage us. We have just made cages by our own constructs and limited thinking. So I'm saying let's bust those out. Let's bust those cages, and let's see that science and spirit are equivalent ways to self-knowledge.
Yes.
What does self-knowledge mean? Know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
Know yourself. Know your consciousness. Become familiar with your inner conversation. Know it and release the limitations. You cannot release limitations unless you go there and look at them. Okay? So science is important. In my life, I'm a medical doctor, so science is important. And at the bedside, I teach my patients these things. That who you are and what you are desiring for your health has great meaning. We will do medicines, but bring these other aspects into your healing. Prayer, intention. I'm going to show you some techniques for energy medicine. I actually build this program individually at the bedside.
I think that's amazing that your patients have access to you and you're able to round out their care with this kind of knowledge, because it is so important. What do you think about, especially with COVID right now, there are a lot of people who are feeling that they do not necessarily want a vaccine, or they're feeling and their intuition is telling them that the virus isn't real. So at what point how do you regulate your intuition about when it comes to science? If a doctor is saying you need to take this medicine or you're going to die, but then the person is feeling like, I don't know, I feel like I can heal my body. I've believed this for so long, and they really have the internal struggle of accepting science over faith. It's
this
hard.
This is such an important question, and I come across this on a daily basis with my patients who have arthritis. I'm a rheumatologist, and many times I'm an integrative rheumatologist, so I do complementary and integrative medicine to help people with chronic diseases. And many times they want to heal themselves naturally, but there is a place for medicine. So here's my suggestion for the COVID-19. I call it the life kit. You have to have science, good rational science, and good spirituality. So what does science tell us? And this is what I tell my patients. And this is science. This has been shown. This is not hocus pocus. Oh, I'm not pulling numbers out. Take your vitamin D. Vitamin D, a simple nutrient, will rev up your immune system. That's chemistry. And that's shown to be true. Okay? Take 5,000 international units of vitamin D, and in Toronto, this is important. Yes. You don't have sunshine. Just take vitamin D. You don't need fancy lab work. You don't need a doctor to tell you this. Take vitamin D. Now add zinc to it. Zinc, a simple mineral, 200 milligrams of zinc. Again, very beneficial. I add a couple more nutrients to that, selenium and vitamin C. If you get a sunshine, go and bathe in the sun. Wear the right clothing and go and expose yourself to nature and some sun. That's wonderful science. Then wear your face covering. Let's not be silly about this. Wear a good mask, cover your nose and mouth, and go out. Now let's look at the spiritual aspects. We've got the science. We're talking about the life kit for COVID-19. Spiritual practice. What do I tell my patients? Breathe. Watch the anxiety come up. Watch it. Stay with it. Now breathe. Breathe in. Breathe out. I practice this. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Watch the anxiety. Where is it tight? Breathe in and out. Now, this is really key. The heart is our finest register. The heart is our finest register. Drop the awareness from the breath. now down to your heart level. Stay there and watch the anxiety. It will start to dissipate. You've done the science. Do the spirit. Join them up. Okay? What does breathing and heart focus really do? Actually, it revs up the subtle energy systems in your body. Wow. That's where the juice is. That's the internal spark plug. You are priming yourself for the biggest, you might say, defense mechanism, the internal PPE.
Love that.
You've done the external stuff. Yes. Now you're bringing in the internal stuff. Okay? And when you join these two together, you're now positioned yourself. You are empowering your own mind and your own physical systems to line up. Don't be fearful. Let go of fear. You're always protected. That's your life kit. Yes.
Yeah. And I feel lucky that what you're saying resonates with me. The breathing, it's funny that you bring up the breathing because my anxiety always manifests in my lungs. And I've gone to my doctor so many times and I'm like, I need to get my lungs checked. I have lung cancer. She's like, Peter, it's anxiety. And so when you were explaining the breathing, I was doing it with you. And it is so powerful. Like meditation has changed my life completely. And I'm blown away by how taking 10 deep breaths can change so much about your internal world. And breathing is something that we do, that we have to do. And it's just a simple, perception change of I'm breathing anyway, but how do I use this thing that my body does on a regular basis to help heal me? And I feel like if more people could even try it, even if they don't,
yes,
just
absolutely.
try it,
Yes. And as a physician at the bedside, there are many, many times when I'm listening to their heart and lungs. I do telemedicine right now, but there's a nurse at the other end, and I listen to them, I examine them just like I'm at the bedside. And I can't tell you how many times I tell my patients, breathe deeply. I can't hear your lungs. We have forgotten how to breathe.
Oh my God.
So notice the anxiety come up, the internal chatter, because that is rooted in fear. Do not be fearful, but notice it. You have to notice it. And once you have awareness, then kick in your breathing. Breathe into it and out of it, into it and out of it. Slow it down. And I have seen this personally at the bedside when I'm in person with my patients. There's no computer, by the way. I don't use computers anymore. I think it has interfered with the doctor-patient relationship. It has interfered with what a doctor and patient is supposed to do. So I don't have computers. I go into my office and then do my recording. But when I'm with my patient, it is them and me one-to-one, looking at them, feeling them, asking their story. It's a privilege to know what brings them into my office that day. And I'll even say, what is your number one thing that we should sort out today? What's on your mind today? And often it's not your pain level or you couldn't bathe, or it's really, I need this to happen. I'm worried about this, this, and this. And we talk about it. And then we breathe. There are many times I switch off the light in my office, and together in the safety of that office visit, we both breathe in and out.
Wow.
Okay, and then I switch on the light, and they're a different face. They're a different face.
It sounds like the most enjoyable doctor visit you could ever go to. Having somebody take the time to check in with you first, do some breathing. It sounds amazing. I want to come to see you. You can be my doctor. I'll take a plane just to see you. When I was reading your book, and as I make my way through it, it's my first, I guess, scientific book, that there's a lot of words and concepts that I'm not familiar with, but still the message resonates with me because there is something about that I know to be true in my spirit. And one beautiful message that I'm taking from the book is the creativity of science that I never considered before, and how so many great scientists, you have to, like you talked about the box and how science can keep us in these cages, you have to be willing to entertain the idea that there's something you don't understand and there's something more to life, which is the same thing that people who are religious and spiritual do. I never ever considered that scientists were of that same mind frame. It's completely shifted my perception of it.
Oh, yes. So science is creative and there's intention in science. The moment you put formulas and equations and what you do know, the bottom-up science, I know this to be true. That's what Tiller did. He said, okay, energy is important in nature. Can consciousness be a source of free energy to do work? And he showed, wow, your intention, once you're focused, is a source of energy. I mean, beyond anything. And he put a number on it. And then he did something else, which is so fascinating. Spiritual practice aligns with the great laws of nature. What is the laws of nature? That's science. And the law of nature is thermodynamics. Okay, that's what we're showing. And I'm using a big word, thermodynamics. What does it really mean? Thermodynamics is the study of energy, heat, and work. Boring stuff, okay? To be honest, I thought, okay, boring, steam engines and consciousness, who cares? But here's the thing. In a nutshell, the law of nature is this, that everything is going to entropy or disorder. Everything just rolls down to disorder. You and I, Peter, our bodies, our great organs are not disordered, right? Disease is disorder. So how do we keep things in order? How do we keep things in complexity and running harmoniously? How does he do that? And he shows that information, your intention, increases coherence, the opposite of disorder. Your thinking is a source of order, coherence. Wow, that's aligning with the laws of nature. That's very powerful. Spirituality increases coherence. And once you align with that, the game is up. Now we've got it. We just have to go there. So prayer is powerful. That is the biggest coherence we have. And Tiller shows it. That when you have coherence, inner thinking that is aligned like a laser beam, wow, you're going to create energy and you're going to reduce disorder. You're reducing entropy. That's the law of nature.
And that's also the law of attraction. I mean, the commercialized concept of manifesting your reality is what you're talking about in more scientific terms that Tiller was able to break down and actually record the subtle energies affecting things like the pH of water. And so you are finding ways to say, this isn't just a self-help book from chapters.
No,
this isn't just a medium channeling energy and telling you how to change your life. This is something that has been scientifically proven on a smaller scale. And then you have these self-help books that are like, if you want to be a millionaire, you just need to think rich. And so I think I think that's possible, that you can create an abundant experience while you're here on Earth. But there's a gap between the subtle energy, affecting pH water, the pH levels of water, for example, and then somebody coming into this blindly, buying a book and thinking, oh my God, by the end of this book, I'm going to be a millionaire, So
here's the thing, what Tiller had shown, and you're alluding to that, is that he asked a very profound question. Can human thought affect material things out there, which is what you're talking about, manifesting, right?
Yeah.
In a sense, that is the ancient law that if you attend to something, if you put your attention on something, eventually it will happen because we're powerful enough to do that. So Taylor says, okay, that's the ancient teaching. Seek and you shall find. Knock the door and it'll be open unto you, right? Tiller is saying, okay, can science show this to be true? And he's showing something profound, but there is something more. There's a prerequisite. You cannot buy a book and expect this to happen.